You'll have setbacks. You'll have days where everything goes wrong, where you break your discipline streak, where you make mistakes and fall short of your standards. Here's what you do. You don't quit. You don't throw it all away because you had one bad day. You don't say, well, I already messed up, might as well give up completely. That's crazy thinking. If you're driving to a destination and you get a flat tire, do you get out and slash the other 3 tires? Of course not. You fix the tire and keep going. Setbacks are not the problem. Quitting is the problem. Every successful person I've ever known has failed more times than most people have tried. The difference is they didn't let failure stop them. They learned from it, adjusted their approach, and kept moving forward with their focus intact. They understood that failure is feedback, not a character judgment. It tells you what doesn't work so you can figure out what does work. Here's something else about discipline that most people miss. It creates freedom, not restriction. People think discipline is about limiting yourself, denying yourself, living a rigid, joyless life. But that's backwards. Discipline gives you freedom. The discipline to manage your money gives you the freedom to not worry about bills. The discipline to maintain your health gives you the freedom to enjoy your life without pain and limitation. The discipline to master your craft gives you the freedom to choose your opportunities instead of taking whatever comes along. And as you build these disciplines, as you stack these daily wins on top of each other, something starts to happen inside you. You start to trust yourself. You start to believe that when you make a commitment, you'll keep it. You develop what I call personal integrity, the alignment between who you say you are and who you actually are based on your actions. And this personal integrity, this self-respect that comes from being disciplined, it's more valuable than any external achievement. It's the foundation of confidence, of peace of mind, of knowing that whatever challenge life throws at you, you can handle it because you've proven to yourself that you're the kind of person who does hard things. So the question is not whether discipline is worth it. The question is whether you're worth it. Are you worth the effort of becoming the best version of yourself? Are you worth the sacrifice of temporary comfort for long-term achievement? Are you worth the investment of daily disciplines that will compound into a life beyond what you currently think is possible? I think you are. But what you think is what matters. And what you do every single day is what proves it. Now, let me tell you about the shift that happens when you've stayed focused long enough. When those daily disciplines have been stacking up month after month, year after year, something changes. It's not dramatic. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly feel completely different. But gradually, quietly, you realize you're not the same person who started this focused journey. The work you used to struggle with becomes natural. The discipline you used to force becomes automatic. And the person you were trying to become, you look in the mirror and realize that's who you are now. I remember the exact moment I realized I had transformed. I was preparing for a seminar, and I sat down to organize my thoughts like I had done hundreds of times before. But this time was different. The ideas didn't just come to me, they flowed through me. The connections between concepts, the stories that illustrated the principles, the way to structure the presentation so it would land in people's hearts and not just their heads. It all came naturally. I wasn't straining anymore. I wasn't pretending. I had become the thing I was pursuing. That's what sustained focus does. It doesn't just give you skills, it changes your identity. You see, skills compound in a way that most people don't understand. When you first start learning something, every little bit is hard. You're consciously thinking about each step, each decision, each move. But as you practice, as you repeat the fundamentals over and over again, something magical happens. Those basics become automatic. They move from your conscious mind to your unconscious competence. And now you're free to operate at a higher level. You're free to be creative, to innovate, to see possibilities that beginners can't even imagine because they're still struggling with the fundamentals. And here's what I love about this process. Once you become competent, once you develop real mastery in your focused area, you gain a different kind of confidence. Not the fake confidence of positive thinking or self-help mantras. Real confidence. The kind that comes from knowing you can deliver. From knowing that when someone needs what you do, you can handle it at a level of excellence that few people can match. That confidence changes how you walk into a room. It changes how you speak. It changes how people respond to you because they can sense it. They can feel that you're not pretending, you're not hoping, you're not faking it until you make it. You're the real thing. But to get to that place, you had to let some things go. This is the pruning process that most people aren't willing to accept. An apple tree produces better fruit when you cut away the branches that aren't producing. Your life works the same way. As you got more focused, you had to stop doing certain things. You had to stop spending time with certain people. You had to stop pursuing opportunities that once seemed attractive but didn't align with your focused direction. And that hurts. There's a grief in letting go, even when you know it's the right thing to do. I had friends who didn't understand why I couldn't hang out like we used to. I had family members who thought I was obsessed, that I was missing out on life. And maybe I did miss some parties. Maybe I did turn down some invitations. But you know what I didn't miss? I didn't miss the opportunity to become everything I was capable of becoming. I didn't miss the chance to develop skills that would serve me and serve others for the rest of my life. So what does life look like when you've built that unstoppable momentum? When you've stayed focused long enough that you're not just good at what you do, you're exceptional. Let me tell you, it's different than most people imagine. It's not about showing off or proving something to the people who doubted you. It's quieter than that. It's deeper. It's the profound satisfaction of knowing you took raw potential and turned it into mastery through the simple power of sustained focus. Here's what changes. You stop accepting whatever life hands you and start designing the life you want. Most people are like leaves in the wind, blown wherever circumstances take them. They react to life instead of creating it. But when you've developed mastery through focus, when you've become genuinely valuable in your field, you gain something precious: choice. The marketplace rewards rare and valuable skills with rare and valuable opportunities. Companies seek you out. Clients pursue you. You're not chasing anymore. You're choosing. And the money follows value. Always has, always will. When you can solve problems that most people can't solve, when you can deliver results that most people can't deliver, when you've gone so deep in your focused area that you see things others miss, that's when the marketplace opens its wallet. Not because you're lucky, not because you know the right people, but because you've made yourself worth it. You've invested thousands of hours becoming someone worth paying premium prices for. But let me tell you something that matters more than the money: the freedom. When you're excellent at something meaningful, when you've mastered your craft, you buy yourself freedom. Freedom to choose your projects. Freedom to work with people you respect. Freedom to say no to things that don't align with your values. Freedom to structure your days in ways that bring you joy instead of just chasing the next dollar. That's what focus ultimately gives you, not just success, but the freedom to define what success means on your own terms. And here's where it gets really beautiful. When you've climbed the mountain, when you've achieved that mastery, you get to reach back and help others up. You get to teach. You get to share the lessons you learned the hard way so others don't have to learn them quite so hard. There's something profoundly satisfying about taking someone who's where you used to be and showing them the path you walked. Not doing it for them, they have to walk it themselves. But lighting the way, showing them it's possible because you're living proof that it's possible. I've spent decades now teaching what I learned through my focused journey. And I'll tell you something, the joy of seeing someone else succeed because of something you taught them rivals any personal achievement. That's legacy. That's impact. That's what remains when everything else fades away. The money you make will get spent. The awards you win will collect dust. But the lives you touch, the people you inspire, the difference you make because you became excellent at something and then shared that excellence that lives on. Now let me address something important. Focus doesn't mean ignoring the rest of your life. Some people think mastery in one area requires sacrificing everything else. Your health, your relationships, your joy. That's not focus. That's obsession. And obsession destroys what it touches. Real focus means mastering what matters most while maintaining what you value. It means being present with your family when you're with your family, not mentally working on your projects. It means taking care of your body because you understand you can't do excellent work in a broken down vehicle. Balance isn't about equal time. It's about appropriate attention. Your focused area might get more time than other things, and that's fine. But the other dimensions of your life still matter. Your relationships still need nurturing. Your health still needs maintaining. Your spirit still needs feeding. The key is being intentional about all of it instead of letting life just happen to you while you're busy chasing success. And here's what I've learned about true success after all these years. It's not about arriving at some destination where you can finally relax and coast. The greatest gift of sustained focus is that it reveals there's always another level, always something more to learn, to master, to contribute. The game doesn't end. You don't reach a point where you say, okay, I'm done now. I've learned everything there is to learn. The more you know, the more you realize how much you don't know. And if you approach it right, that's exciting, not discouraging. Think about the ripple effect of your focused excellence. When you become unstoppable in your field, you don't just change your own life, you change your family's life. You show your children what's possible when someone commits to something and refuses to quit. You impact your community by being an example of what discipline and dedication can create. You contribute to your field by pushing it forward, by innovating, by setting new standards of excellence. That's the power of one person who decides to focus until they feel unstoppable. And discipline is really just respect for yourself. It's saying no to what you want right now so you can say yes to what you want most. Most people have this backwards. They think discipline is punishment, restriction, giving up the good things in life. But here's what I've discovered. Discipline is actually freedom. The disciplined person is free to achieve their goals. The undisciplined person is trapped by their habits. I remember meeting a successful restaurant owner who told me his secret wasn't cooking great food or finding the perfect location. His secret was getting up at 4:30 every morning to review his numbers, plan his day, and work on his business instead of just in his business. He'd been doing this for 15 years. His competitors slept in, complained about the competition, and wondered why they couldn't get ahead. But this man had disciplined himself into success, one early morning at a time. Discipline means keeping your word to yourself. If you tell yourself you're going to exercise, you exercise. If you commit to reading for 30 minutes a day, you read. If you promise yourself you'll save a percentage of every paycheck, you save it. Your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship you'll ever have. And that relationship is built on the promises you keep to yourself when nobody else is counting. The third pillar is wisdom. And wisdom is different from intelligence. Intelligence is knowing a lot of facts. Wisdom is knowing what to do with those facts. Intelligence can be learned from books. Wisdom is learned from experience, from mistakes, from observing others, and from developing good judgment over time. A wise person studies success principles daily, not because they have to, but because they understand that the mind, like a garden, must be constantly cultivated, or weeds will take over. I once knew a man who read every business book he could find, attended every seminar, took every course. He was highly intelligent, could quote statistics and theories all day long, but he was broke. Why? Because he never applied what he learned. He collected information like some people collect stamps, but information without application is just entertainment. The wise person doesn't just learn, they learn and then do. They turn knowledge into action, theories into results, ideas into income. Wisdom also means learning from other people's mistakes instead of making them all yourself. When I was young, I thought I had to learn everything through personal experience. That's extensive education, sometimes dangerous. The wise person studies both success and failure, learns from mentors, observes patterns, and develops the judgment to make better decisions faster. The fourth pillar is service, and this might surprise you. Many people think carrying yourself like a king means being served by others. But true royalty understands that leadership is service. The greatest kings in history weren't the ones who took the most from their people. They were the ones who gave the most to their people. They understood that their crown wasn't a decoration. It was a responsibility. Service means adding value to every interaction. It means asking, how can I help, instead of what's in it for me. It means developing your skills, not just for your own benefit, but so you can contribute more to others. The person who consistently adds value to others' lives finds that life consistently adds value to theirs. I learned this from watching Earl's show at company meetings. While everyone else was focused on what they could get from the company, Earl was focused on what he could give to the company. He volunteered for difficult assignments, mentored new employees, stayed late to help solve problems. And you know what happened? The company kept promoting him, kept increasing his income, kept giving him more opportunities, not because he demanded them, but because he'd earned them through service. Here's what most people miss. These 4 pillars work together. Integrity gives you credibility. Discipline gives you capability. Wisdom gives you clarity. Service gives you opportunity. Together, they create a character so strong, so attractive, so magnetic that success has no choice but to find you. But building character takes time, and it takes consistency. You can't develop integrity in a crisis. It must be built in the quiet moments. You can't suddenly become disciplined when opportunity knocks. Discipline must be practiced daily. You can't acquire wisdom overnight. It must be accumulated over years. You can't start serving others when you need something. Service must be a way of life. The beautiful thing about building character is that nobody can take it away from you. They can take your money, your job, your possessions, even your reputation for a while, but they cannot take your character. That belongs to you forever, and it's the foundation upon which you can rebuild anything else you might lose. So ask yourself, what kind of foundation are you building? Are you investing in character or just chasing circumstances? Because circumstances change, but character endures. And when your character is solid, when these 4 pillars are strong, you'll find that you naturally carry yourself with the dignity and confidence of royalty long before the world recognizes you as such. Here's where most people lose the game before they even start playing. They've got the wrong software running between their ears. While kings think decades ahead, ordinary people think about what's for dinner tonight. While royalty sees training in every challenge, most folks see only problems. The difference isn't intelligence, it's not background, and it's certainly not luck. The difference is how they've programmed their minds to interpret the world around them. Let me tell you about a conversation that changed my entire perspective on thinking. I was having lunch with a successful businessman who'd built his company from nothing into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. I asked him what separated him from his competitors. He smiled and said, "Jim, most business owners think in quarters. I think in decades. When they're worried about this month's numbers, I'm planning what this company will look like in 20 years. When they see a recession, I see an opportunity to buy assets cheap and hire talented people my competitors can't afford to keep." That's when it hit me. Successful people don't just think different thoughts. They think on different timelines. Kings understand that today's sacrifices become tomorrow's strengths. They plant oak trees knowing they may never sit in their shade, but understanding that someone will. This long-term thinking affects every decision they make, from how they spend their money to how they invest their time to how they treat their relationships. Most people live in what I call immediate gratification prison. They want the results without the process.
Okay.
The harvest without the planting.
So can I just kind of tell you
The
about
crown without the character.
Exactly what you want me to do, yeah.
They see successful people and think they're lucky, not realizing they're looking at years, sometimes decades of invisible preparation. But kings understand something powerful. The magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. Every challenge that comes your way is actually royal training in disguise. Think about it. If life only gave you easy problems, you'd never develop the strength to handle bigger opportunities. If every door opened easily, you'd never build the persistence needed to break through when it matters most. If everyone always said yes, you'd never develop the resilience required to lead others through difficult times. I learned this lesson during the darkest period of my life. I was 31, completely broke, more debt than assets, and facing the real possibility of losing everything I'd worked for. My self-confidence was shattered, my marriage was struggling, and I felt like a complete failure. I remember sitting in my car after a particularly humiliating meeting with creditors, wondering how I'd gotten so far off track. But instead of drowning in self-pity, I asked myself a different question. What is this situation trying to teach me? That simple shift in thinking changed everything. Instead of being a victim of my circumstances, I became a student of my circumstances. I started studying what successful people did differently. I began reading books that challenged my thinking. I sought out mentors who could show me a better way. Here's what I discovered. My financial problems weren't really financial problems. They were thinking problems. I'd been making decisions based on hope instead of reality, on wishes instead of principles, on feelings instead of facts. The bankruptcy wasn't just happening to my business, it was happening to my belief system. And once I understood that, I could begin rebuilding both. This is the difference between victim thinking and sovereign thinking. Victims ask, why is this happening to me? Kings ask, what can I learn from this? Victims focus on what's wrong with their circumstances. Kings focus on what's strong in their character. Victims wait for their situation to change. Kings change themselves and watch their situation respond. The mind is like a garden, and you are the gardener. Every day you're either planting seeds of success or seeds of failure. You're either cultivating thoughts that serve your future or allowing weeds of negative thinking to choke out your potential. The quality of your thinking determines the quality of your life, and the quality of your life determines the quality of your contribution to others. Royal thinking means developing what I call opportunity vision. While others see problems, you see possibilities. While others see obstacles, you see stepping stones. While others see reasons why something can't work, you see ways to make it work. This isn't positive thinking for its own sake. This is strategic thinking that looks for advantage in every situation. I remember meeting a man who'd been homeless for 3 years. But here's what struck me about him. He carried himself with more dignity than most millionaires I've met. When I asked him about it, he said, Mr. Rowan, I may not have money, but I still have my mind, my character, and my ability to choose my response to life. Nobody can take those away from me unless I give them permission. That man understood something profound. Your circumstances don't determine your mindset. Your mindset determines how you respond to your circumstances. And how you respond determines what happens next. This is the ultimate freedom. The ability to choose your thoughts regardless of your situation. But developing royal thinking requires daily maintenance. You must guard your mind like a king guards his treasury. What you allow in affects what comes out. If you fill your mind with negativity, complaints, and victim stories, that's what will flow out in your decisions and actions. But if you consistently feed your mind with wisdom, possibility, and success principles, that's what will guide your choices. This means being selective about what you read, what you watch, and especially what you listen to. It means choosing conversations that elevate your thinking rather than drain your energy. It means spending time with people who challenge you to grow rather than enable you to stay the same. It means investing in your mental development with the same seriousness that an athlete invests in physical training. Here's something most people never consider. Hope is not a strategy, but vision is a magnet. Hope says maybe things will get better. Vision says I will make things better. Hope is passive. Vision is active. Hope waits for change. Vision creates change. Hope is a wish. Vision is a plan backed by action. The person who develops royal thinking doesn't just dream of a better future. They architect it. They don't just hope for success, they study it, plan for it, and work toward it with systematic precision. They understand that thinking like a king isn't about feeling superior to others. It's about holding yourself to superior standards. Remember this, your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your character, and your character becomes your destiny. If you want to change your destiny, start by changing your thinking. If you want to wear the crown, start by thinking like someone worthy of wearing it. Because here's the truth that'll set you free. You don't have to wait for permission to think like royalty. That choice is available to you right now, today, in this moment. The only question is, will you choose it? Here's what nobody tells you about commanding respect. It's never about
The only
demanding.
thought I'm having is,
The moment you have
if
to
I had
ask
the
for respect,
sideburn,
you've
I would say
already
right away,
lost
let's
it.
knock this off.
True respect is commanded
Without
through
the
actions,
sideburn, is this
earned
gonna
through
look-
consistency, and attracted through the way you carry yourself when nobody important is watching.
Right here.
It's the natural response people have when they encounter someone who clearly respects themselves. I learned this lesson watching a janitor at a corporate seminar I was speaking at in Chicago. While executives rushed past him without acknowledgement, this man cleaned with such pride, such attention to detail, such quiet
Is my
dignity that
neck
by the
gonna
end of the
look
day, even the CEO was stopping to thank him
Thinner if
personally.
we take this off.
The janitor never demanded respect, never complained about being overlooked, never acted bitter about his position. He simply carried himself like a man who understood his own worth, and that understanding was so powerful it became contagious. That's the magnetic effect of authentic confidence. It draws opportunities, opens doors, and creates connections that force and manipulation never could. When you genuinely believe you deserve good things in life, when you act with integrity regardless of your circumstances, when you treat others with dignity regardless of their position, something remarkable happens. The world begins to reorganize itself around your energy. I remember a woman who attended one of my seminars 5 years ago. She was working as a receptionist, struggling financially, but she made a decision that day to start carrying herself differently. She began dressing with more care, speaking with more purpose, walking with more confidence. She stopped apologizing for her ideas in meetings and started presenting them with conviction. She quit gossiping with coworkers and started reading during lunch
I
breaks
don't know
instead.
what to do with it.
Yeah.
Within 6 months, her supervisor noticed her transformation and offered her a promotion. Within 2 years, she'd moved to a different company with triple her original salary. Within 5 years, she'd started her own consulting firm. But here's what she told me when she wrote to share her success. The external changes didn't create the internal confidence. The internal confidence created everything else. This is why waiting for perfect conditions is the thief of greatness. Most people say, when I get the promotion, then I'll act professionally. When I have money, then I'll dress better. When I'm successful, then I'll be confident. But life doesn't work that way. Life responds to who you are being right now, not who you promise to become later. The throne isn't something you wait to inherit, it's something you prepare yourself to occupy. And that preparation happens in the small moments, the daily choices, the way you respond when things don't go your way. Every time you choose excellence over mediocrity, integrity over convenience, service over selfishness, you're casting a vote for the royal version of yourself.
Then let's go to.
But here's what comes with carrying yourself like royalty.
Leave this for a
Responsibility.
second. Let's feel it with just this
True
and this.
kings don't just elevate themselves, they elevate everyone around them.
As in,
They don't
let's
use their
go-
confidence to
like in this
intimidate,
one,
they
I
use it to
have
inspire.
The mustache.
They don't build their throne on the backs of others, they help others build their own thrones. Because authentic royalty understands that there's enough success, enough
Let's keep it
opportunity,
to where
enough
we knock
abundance
this
for
down.
everyone who's willing to prepare themselves for it. The
The
crown arrives. When you consistently live by these principles, when integrity, discipline, wisdom, and service become your foundation, when your thinking expands beyond immediate gratification,
I'm sure.
when you carry yourself with quiet confidence, something remarkable begins to happen. External success starts catching up to your internal transformation.
Yeah.
Not because you don't pretend to be someone you're
About
not,
this. I
but
thought we
because
talked
you've
about
become
this. Remember I said I
someone
don't
you
like
always
wall
had the
of
potential
fame
to
too
be.
big. I don't want wall of fame.
I've watched this
Yeah.
transformation happen hundreds of times over the years.
Yeah, and we did.
There was Marcus,
when I was staying
A warehouse worker who started applying these principles and within 3 years owned his own logistics
That's what
company.
I was doing. So
There was
you did
Sarah,
that.
a single mother who went from struggling to pay rent to building a successful real estate practice. There was David, who transformed from a failing salesman to the top producer in his region. But the most remarkable case was a young woman named Lisa who attended one of my seminars 7 years ago. She was 28, worked at a call center, and had convinced herself that her circumstances defined her potential. During the break, she told me she felt stuck, like she was meant for something more, but didn't know how to get there. I asked her one simple question. If you already were the person you're meant to become, how would that person act? She thought for a moment and said she'd speak up in meetings, she'd dress more professionally, she'd stop making excuses and start making plans, then start being heard today. I told her. Lisa took that advice seriously. She began treating herself like someone worthy of success. She invested in her appearance, her education, her network. She started speaking up with her ideas instead of keeping them to herself. She took on additional responsibilities without being asked. She carried herself like someone who belonged in bigger rooms, even while she was still in small ones. Last month, I received a letter from Lisa. She's now the Vice President of Customer Experience at a Fortune 500 company, earning more in a year than she used to make in 5. But what struck me most about her letter wasn't the external success. It was her understanding that the crown had been waiting for her all along. She just had to become someone worthy of wearing it. This is the ongoing responsibility of wearing your crown, remembering that true kings create other kings, not subjects. The moment you achieve success, you have an obligation to help others discover their own royalty. Because here's what I've learned after decades of studying success. The greatest leaders aren't those who accumulate the most followers, but those who develop the most leaders. When you carry yourself like royalty, you give others permission to do the same. When you refuse to settle for mediocrity, you inspire others to raise their standards. When you treat everyone with dignity, regardless of their position, you model what true confidence looks like. Your transformation becomes a beacon for others who are still finding their way. Your royal transformation starts today. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting for permission to be great. Stop waiting for perfect conditions to start acting like the person you're meant to become. Stop waiting for someone else to recognize your worth before you recognize it yourself. Your royal transformation doesn't require a ceremony, a certificate, or anyone else's approval. It requires a decision to carry yourself with dignity starting today, to speak with purpose starting now, to act with integrity in this very moment. The crown isn't coming someday, it's available right now to anyone willing to develop the character worthy of wearing it. Remember the young man at the car wash I told you about at the beginning? He understood something that changed his entire trajectory. Life doesn't reward you for who you might become. It rewards you for who you are being right now. He didn't wait for success to change him. He changed himself to attract success. And that's exactly what's available to you. Not next week, not next year, not when your circumstances improve. Today, this moment, right where you are with what you have, exactly as things stand. Because here's the promise I can make you with absolute certainty. Life always rewards those who prepare for greatness. It may not happen on your timeline, it may not look exactly like you imagine, but it will happen. The universe has a perfect accounting system. Every deposit of character, every investment in your development, every choice to act with integrity gets recorded and compounded. Your crown is waiting. The only question is, are you ready to wear it? The throne room of your potential is open. The crown of your capabilities is polished and prepared. The kingdom of your possibilities stretches out before you, vast and full of opportunity. All that remains is for you to walk forward, shoulders back, head high, with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth. Not because life has been easy, but because you've chosen to be extraordinary regardless of your circumstances. Your time is now. Your moment is here. The crown that has been waiting for you all along is finally ready to be claimed. Will you accept it? The choice is yours, and it's a choice you make not once, but every single day. Every morning when you wake up, you decide whether to carry yourself like royalty or settle for ordinary. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to practice the principles of integrity, discipline, wisdom, and service. Every challenge becomes royal training in disguise. I've seen too many people postpone their greatness, waiting for someday that never comes. Don't let that be your story. Your kingdom awaits not in some distant future, but in the decisions you make today. The crown doesn't require perfection. It requires commitment. It doesn't demand that you have everything figured out. It asks only that you begin. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. and watch as the world begins to treat you like the royalty you've chosen to become. You know, I met a man once who told me he'd spent 40 years working at the same company, and when I asked him how things were going, he said, "Jim, I just can't seem to get ahead. The economy's bad, my boss doesn't appreciate me, and I just don't get the breaks other people get." And I looked at him and I thought to myself, here's a man who spent 4 decades blaming everything and everyone except the one person who could actually change his situation, himself. Let me tell you something that changed my life when I finally understood it. Most people spend more time planning their 2-week vacation than they spend planning their life. Think about that for a moment. They'll spend hours researching hotels, comparing prices, mapping out every detail of their trip, but when it comes to their own future, their own potential, their own success, they just kind of hope it all works out. They leave the most important journey of their life to chance, to luck, to circumstances, and then they wonder why they end up wherever the wind blows them. Here's what I've learned after all these years. Life doesn't respond to need. Life responds to deserve. And here's the harsh truth that nobody wants to hear, but everybody needs to understand. Your current results are a perfect reflection of your current philosophy. Not your hopes, not your wishes, not what you think you deserve, but your actual daily philosophy. The way you think, the choices you make, the habits you've developed over time. Everything you are today is a result of everything you've been doing up until this point. Now, that might make you uncomfortable. Good. Being uncomfortable is the first step toward change. See, you can't change the past. That's behind you. What's done is done. But here's the exciting part. You can change the future. You can change it starting right now, today, this very moment. But first, you got to be honest about where you are and how you got here. The truth is, most people are paying the price of neglect rather than the price of discipline. Let me explain what I mean. Neglect is easy. Neglect doesn't require much effort at all. You can neglect your health by eating whatever you want, never exercising, treating your body like it's going to last forever without any maintenance. You can neglect your finances by spending everything you make, never saving, never investing, never learning about money. You can neglect your mind by never reading, never studying, never growing beyond what you learned in school 20 or 30 years ago. Neglect is simple, it's comfortable, and it's killing your potential. But here's what they don't tell you about neglect. It has a price too. And that price comes due later, with interest. The price of neglect is a life of regret, a life of I wish I would have, a life of watching other people succeed while you're stuck wondering what happened to your dreams. The price of discipline, on the other hand, weighs ounces. The price of regret weighs tons. I remember when I started to really understand this principle. I was in my 20s, broke, frustrated, going nowhere fast. And I realized something profound. I realized that I was spending more money maintaining my car than I was investing in my mind. I'd take my car in for regular oil changes, I'd make sure the tires were good, I'd keep it clean and running smoothly. But my mind, my own personal development, I was giving that nothing. Zero investment.
Okay, let's stay out of top.
And then I had the audacity to wonder why my life wasn't going anywhere. See, your mind is like a garden. If you plant good seeds and you water them and you tend to them every single day, you're going to get a harvest of good things. But if you neglect that garden, if you just let it sit there and hope for the best, you know what's going to grow? Weeds. Lots and lots of weeds. And those weeds will choke out any good thing that tries to grow there. Negative thinking, self-doubt, excuses, blame, and doubt. Those are the weeds that grow in a neglected mind. Let me tell you about the cost of drift. Drift is when you're not really going anywhere on purpose. You're just kind of floating along, letting life happen to you instead of making life happen for you. And the scary thing about drift is that it's subtle. You don't wake up one day and suddenly your life is off track. No, it happens slowly, one small compromise at a time, one little excuse here, one rationalization there. You skip working out just this once because you're tired. You don't read that book because you want to watch television instead.
Oh no, I'm loving it.
You don't save money this month because there's something you really want to do. And each one of these decisions by itself doesn't seem like a big deal. But here's what I've learned.
Yeah.
The things that are easy to do are also easy not
Let's
to
go
do.
with the blade.
Yeah.
And that's the key to both success and failure right there.
Yeah.
The things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. You know the most dangerous word in personal development? Someday. Someday I'll start eating better. Someday I'll start saving money. Someday I'll read those books. Someday I'll work on my skills. Someday I'll spend more time with my family. Someday I'll start my business. Someday I'll chase my dreams. Let me tell you what someday really means. Never. Someday is the graveyard where dreams go to die. Here's an exercise I want you to do right now. I want you to think about your current habits.
I don't like them. I like
Not the habits you wish you had,
play.
not the habits you're going to start next Monday,
Dry
but
paper
your actual
play.
current habits.
Yeah.
What do you do every day? How do you spend your time? What do you eat?
I like dry paper.
How much do you read? How much television do you watch? Who do you spend your time with?
And I like
How do you handle money? Now, project those
Never
habits
like that.
forward.
Never.
If you keep doing exactly what you're doing right now, where are you going to be in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? And be brutally honest with yourself. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't make excuses. Just look at the trajectory. You're on, and ask yourself, is this taking me where I want to go? For most people, the answer is no. And that's a hard thing to face. But you know what's even harder? Waking up at 65 years old and realizing that you wasted your potential. That you had gifts, talents, abilities that you never developed because you were too comfortable, too lazy, too afraid, or too distracted. I call it comfortable poverty. And I'm not just talking about financial poverty, though that's part of it. I'm talking about poverty of ambition, poverty of effort, poverty of growth. It's when you settle for less than you're capable of. Because what you have right now isn't terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. You can survive on it. You can get by. And so you stop pushing, you stop growing, you stop trying to become more than you are. But here's what I want you to understand. You weren't put on this earth to just get by. You weren't given talents and abilities and potential just to waste them. You're capable of so much more than you're currently doing. The question is, are you willing to pay the price to develop that potential? Are you willing to be uncomfortable for a while? Are you willing to invest in yourself? Because that's what this is all about. It's about making the decision that you're worth investing in, that your future is worth fighting for, that your potential is worth developing. And once you make that decision, really make it, everything changes. But you've got to start by being honest about where you are right now and accepting responsibility for it. Nobody else is responsible for where you are. Not your parents, not your teachers, not your boss, not the government, not the economy. You. Your life is your responsibility. And that's actually good news, because if you're responsible for where you are, that means you have the power to change it. You're not a victim. You're not helpless. You're not stuck. You're just at a crossroads, and you get to decide which direction you're going to go from here. So what's it going to be? Are you going to keep drifting, hoping things will magically get better? Or are you going to take control, invest in yourself, and create the future you actually want? The choice is yours. It's always been yours. And the time to make that choice is right now. Now, let me tell you about a conversation that changed the way I thought about everything. I was giving a seminar years ago, and a young man came up to me during the break. He looked frustrated, tired, like he was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. He said, "Jim, I need to make more money. I've got bills to pay, a family to support, and I'm working as hard as I can, but I'm just not getting ahead. What should I do?" And I looked at him and I said something that surprised him. I said, "Work harder on yourself than you do on your job." He just stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. So I explained it to him. I said, "See, if you work hard on your job, you can make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune." Here's the fundamental truth that most people never learn. You can't earn more than you learn. Your income will rarely exceed your personal development. Why? Because you're not being paid for your time. You're being paid for the value you bring to the marketplace. And if you want to increase your value, you've got to invest in yourself. You've got to become more knowledgeable, more skilled, more disciplined, more valuable. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a
And
fortune.
then do you hit this with a little
Let me
spray?
say that
or you don't
again
use
because
the
it's
spray?
so important.
Okay.
Formal education will make you a living.
Okay.
Self-education will make you a fortune. Now, I'm not against formal education. I think it's valuable, it's important, it gives you a foundation. But what you learned in school 10, 20, 30 years ago isn't enough to take you where you want to go.
Usually I don't
World
have
has
this certain
changed.
time, but I do today.
Industries
I
have
picked
changed.
the right day.
Yes,
Technology
it
has
is.
changed, and if you haven't changed with it, if you haven't kept learning and
I'm the
growing,
reason why
you're
I told
falling
you that, 'cause I
behind.
was like,
You know what I love about
you
personal
at?
development?
I usually
You don't
I'm
have
back.
to change everything.
Back,
You just
I
have to
got
change
back
yourself.
from,
You don't have to
vacation,
change
so
the
that's
economy.
why I was coming
You don't have
back
to change your
so-
circumstances. You don't have
New
to change other
Orleans.
people.
One of my
You
favorite
just
cities.
have to
Yes.
change you.
One of my favorite cities.
And
ever.
when you
Yes.
change,
That's my home.
everything changes for you.
I am Nola.
That's the
Yes.
miracle of
I
it.
had a lot of my
When
first
you
time.
get better,
That was your first time?
life gets
Yes.
better.
Love
Not
that.
because life changes, but because you've changed.
Did you go to the
See,
casino?
you're not just a
I
human being,
didn't.
you're a
That's the
human
one thing I
becoming.
didn't do. But
You're
what was down there for
constantly
the
in the
Essence
process of
Festival?
becoming
Oh
something.
yeah.
The question is, what are you
Yeah, it
becoming?
was doing a lot.
Are you becoming more capable, more skilled, more valuable?
Yeah.
Or are you becoming more bitter, more stuck, more resigned to mediocrity? Every single day, you're moving in one direction or the other. There's no standing still. You're either growing or you're dying. So let's talk about the three areas where you need to invest in yourself. First, and most important, is your mind. Your mind is your most valuable asset. It's where
Michelle
everything
Obama was there. I
starts.
was in her. I was
Every
there. I was
achievement,
in there.
every success, every bit of wealth you'll ever accumulate started made me
I know people think I'm weird.
You were
I
right.
wasn't reading
Yeah,
just to
I'm
collect
yeah.
information. I was
That's
reading to
fun-
transform my
that's fun to
thinking,
me.
to learn from people
Feeding
who had
myself.
accomplished
I
what I wanted
love
to
knowledge.
accomplish, to develop a
So
philosophy
much
that
fun.
would serve me instead of
About food,
sabotage
you
me.
must have got some good food.
Let me tell you a story that shows you how serious I am about this.
I
When I was in my
had
20s,
Cabo,
barely scraping by, I heard about a
no,
seminar
no,
that
no.
cost $1,000.
Cabo.
Now,
Oh.
at that time, I only had $1,200 to my name.
You talking about
That
restaurants?
$1,000 seminar would
Just
change
the-
almost
Oh,
everything
you
I
were
had.
in New Orleans?
Yeah.
You didn't have beignets?
My friends thought
I did have some beignets.
Okay,
They was
there
They
you
said,
good.
Jim, you can't afford that.
Yeah.
You need that money for rent,
Yes.
for food, for
I mean,
bills.
half my family's vegetarian.
But I went anyway.
They still
Yeah.
love New Orleans food.
You know why?
Yeah.
You still have some red
Because
beans
I
and
couldn't
rice.
afford
You still
not
have
to
some-
know. I
you still
understood
Creole
something
king
they
food,
didn't.
man.
I understood that the information, the insights, the connections I would make at that seminar were worth far more than the money I was spending. I was investing in my future self. I was buying knowledge
Love
that
when I go
could
somewhere
potentially
and immerse myself
change
in
my
culture
entire
fully.
life.
Yeah.
And you know what? It did. That one seminar, that one investment in myself opened doors I didn't even know existed. The second area you need to invest in is your skills.
How long have you had this shop?
You've got to become more
10 years.
valuable in the
You've been here 10
marketplace.
years?
Yes,
Whatever
sir.
you do for a
I've
living,
been-
you need to
and
become
this is that-
exceptional at it.
I've been in
Not
this
just good,
exact
not just
building
adequate,
for
but
6
exceptional.
years.
And
But
then
I
you
mean,
need to add
I
more
was
skills.
up there with
Learn to
my
communicate
sister
better.
1 year
Learn to
before
sell.
last.
Learn to
I was
lead.
there for
Learn to manage
so I
money.
was there for like
Learn to
4
manage your
years.
time.
And
Every new skill you acquire makes
But
you
yeah, I've been
more
in this area
valuable,
for
more
10.
irreplaceable, more worthy of
How often
higher
do people
compensation.
come in for?
They think, well, I already know how to do my job. I've been doing it for years.
This on kind-
But
this
knowing
on
how to
kind
do
of
something and
like
being
this.
exceptional at it are two
Every
completely
2
different
weeks, 3
things.
weeks, 4 weeks?
And in
Yeah,
today's
well,
world,
it depends.
average
It
doesn't cut it
depends.
anymore.
I usually tell
Average
my friends,
is
I usually
broke.
don't like
Average
something
is
like
struggling.
4 weeks.
You've got to be better than average,
That's true.
and that requires constant improvement, constant
So
learning,
like, yeah,
constant
every
investment
2
in
to 4
developing your
weeks,
abilities.
it depends on your.
But here's the third area that people often overlook, and it might be the most important of
Yeah,
all,
see, 3
your
weeks is
emotional
perfect.
capacity. I call it the emotional bank account. See, success isn't just about what you know or what you can do. It's about what you can handle. Can you handle frustration? Can you handle disappointment? Can you handle rejection? Can you handle failure? Can you handle criticism? Can you handle setbacks? Because let me tell you, on the road to any worthwhile achievement, you're going to face all
How many
of those
clients do you have
things.
that don't have beards?
And if you haven't invested in developing emotional strength, if you haven't built up your resilience, your persistence, your ability to keep going when things get tough, you're going to quit at the first sign of trouble. You're going to give up when you're maybe just inches away from
That's
success.
not
I'm a
fair.
beer allergist.
I've seen it happen 1,000
And-
times.
And my
you're
blade.
immediately
Someone
after,
starts working on
you
their
just
goals
shave
and
mine
everything's
off.
exciting and new
How
for
many
a
years have I
while.
had a beard?
But then they hit an
Yeah,
obstacle. Things don't go as planned.
In my blade.
They face some rejection, some failure, some disappointment. And instead of seeing it as part of the process, instead of using it as a learning experience, they take it personally.
That's awesome.
They let it defeat them. They quit. But the people who make it, the people who achieve their goals and build the life they want, they've invested in developing emotional strength. They've learned that failure is just feedback. Rejection is just redirection. Disappointment is just part of the journey. They don't let circumstances control their emotions. They stay steady. They stay focused. They keep moving forward. And let's not forget about your health. You can work hard, you can make money, you can achieve all your goals, but if you've lost your health, what have you really gained? You can't enjoy wealth if you don't have health. So you've got to invest in taking care of your body. Eat better, exercise, get enough sleep. Treat your body like it's valuable, because it is. It's the only one you get. Here's the key principle that ties all of this together. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work on your job, you make a living. If you work on yourself, you make a fortune. Most people have it backwards. They spend 8, 10, 12 hours a day working on their job and 0 time working on themselves. And then they wonder why their life doesn't change. But what if you flipped that? What if you spent just 1 or 2 hours a day working on yourself?
We did do the swamp
Reading.
tour.
Oh, that's fun.
Studying,
Yeah.
learning new skills,
See, like you said, I
Taking
like
care
to
of your
immerse
health.
in the culture.
Yeah.
developing
got
your
some,
emotional
like,
strength.
New Orleans got
What would
some-
happen to your value in the marketplace? What would happen to your
New
income? What
Orleans
would
got
happen
some
to your
real
life?
strong roots for
I'll
me.
tell you what would happen.
Yeah.
Everything would
Want
change.
to go see all that?
Not
Is it gonna
overnight,
be voodoo stuff?
Heck
but
no.
steadily,
What about that? So no high tours?
Surely.
None of that.
Yeah.
inevitably,
I didn't do none
You'd
of
become a
that,
different
but
person.
I did do the plantation.
more capable, more valuable,
Oh, yeah.
more confident, more successful. And the beautiful thing is, once you become that person, nobody can take it away from you. They can take your money, they can take your job, they can take your possessions, but they can't take who you've
Heck
become.
no.
That's yours forever.
You know, that's
All right,
a
so
nah.
now you
Heck no.
understand why you need to invest in yourself.
Kansas City.
But understanding isn't enough.
Ain't you Kwanzaa?
Knowledge without action is just entertainment. So let's talk about how to actually do this. Let's talk about the practical steps you can take starting today to transform your life through personal development.
How did you find out?
First
about
thing,
us?
I found
set
you
aside
a
1
year
hour a day for
Oh,
your
yeah?
personal growth.
and I messaged
Just
you
1 hour.
Bree,
Uh-huh.
That's it.
and
Now I can hear some of you already
it
making
was- I
excuses.
needed the
Jim, I don't
appointment
have an hour. I'm
Like
too
that
busy.
day. Yeah.
I've got work, I've got
and you
family,
guys
I've
couldn't
got
get me that day,
responsibilities.
the next day.
Yeah.
Let me tell you
And
something.
then
You've got time for
somehow,
what you make.
I totally forgot about you guys. I keep
You've got an
driving
hour a
to
day to
Irving
watch
to
television.
go down in South
You've got an hour
Irving
to scroll through
because he's
social
the only one
media,
I
to
found
gossip with
who could
friends,
do
to do things that
long
aren't
hair
moving your life
and
forward.
beard barbering
So
properly.
don't tell me you don't
Yeah,
have
He's done a
time.
great
You
job
have
for me,
time.
but
The question is, what are
he's
you
a good
doing
deal,
with
right?
it?
He's like 45
Let me
bucks
break
every
down the
beard.
math
Yeah.
for you,
Right.
because
Yeah.
numbers
But the
don't
barbershop
lie.
isn't up to
1
the
hour a day
standards.
is 7
I don't
hours
have
a week.
pampering that I want.
7 hours a week
I
is
don't
30
get
hours a
the
month.
styling touches
30
that I
hours a month is
want. I get the banter and
365
conversation.
hours.
Yeah.
We built a good friendship.
That's the
Yeah.
equivalent of
It
9
takes me half an
40-hour
hour each
work weeks spent on
Bro, you're
your
11 minutes away from the
personal
house.
development. Can you see what
Come
would
on
happen
over
if you
here.
invested 9
Come on
whole
over
weeks
here.
I'm
Let me
moving
grab
on
some
now.
into becoming better, smarter, more skilled, more valuable? Your life would be unrecognizable in 5 years, completely transformed. But here's what most people do. They don't invest that hour, they waste it.
Yes.
And then they wonder
Oh,
why
okay.
their life stays the same year
Yeah,
after
I'm
year
from
after
Kansas
year.
City.
Okay.
They're older, but they're
I'm
not
from
better.
Kansas City, really.
Time passed, but they didn't grow, and that's the real tragedy. Not that life is short, but that we waste so much of it. So here's what I want you to do with that hour. Become a student
It really
again.
wasn't no big
I don't care how
reason.
old you are. I don't care how much education you've had. I don't care what your job title is. Become a student.
So,
Start
I
learning
just
like
said,
your life depends on it, because it
God
does.
over here. He was
Your
always
future
trying to
depends on what you
change
learn today.
your
And here's the
environment.
beautiful thing. You don't need a lot of money to do
You
this.
know, Kansas City
You know what the greatest bargain in America is? A library card.
Yeah.
Think about
so
that.
it's just kinda like,
For free,
How'd you choose Frisco?
or for just a few dollars a year, you have
We
access
own
to
the, we're real popular
thousands
in
of
barbering
books
in Kansas City.
written
And
by
our
the smartest,
clientele before
most
we left,
successful
they was
people
like,
in
okay,
history.
Tasha, if you really
They put
serious
their
about
wisdom,
going
their
to
experience,
Texas,
their knowledge
go
into
in
those
house.
books, and you can have it all for
Go
the
look.
price of the
That's all they
library.
said. Don't
Yeah.
do.
That's unlimited
Don't
growth.
stop now,
Don't
don't
go
stop.
Don't go past 6:35.
I used to tell people, miss a meal, but don't miss
Coming out
reading.
my mouth. That's what they
Now, I'm
say.
not saying
So
starve
I just
yourself,
knew.
but I am saying that
To
feeding your
ignore.
mind is at least as important as feeding your body.
Listening to people, yeah.
Actually, it's more
And
important.
then I started
Because
working
what you
at
feed
a,
your mind today determines what you'll be
barbershop
able to
here when
feed
I
your
first
body
moved here,
tomorrow.
out the gents'
But
place.
you've got to be
Oh, yeah.
selective about what you
So I was
read
a
and who you
national
learn
barber
from.
there for like 3 years.
Don't just read
And
anything.
they just
Read
they
books
just,
that
he
will
just
make you
honed me
better.
to be who I
Read
am
books
now.
on personal
I got you.
development,
Oh,
on your
like the barber
industry,
experience,
on
do what?
skills you want to
Everything
acquire.
that I was trying to
Read
suggest him to
biographies of
do,
successful people.
I was like, you should
Learn
try
from
this,
people who
and
have
you
what you
should-
want. That's
Nope.
crucial.
You know what it's
Learn
called?
from people who have
I
what
needed
you
this
want.
today until
You know what amazes me?
Oh,
People
Now
take
it's
advice
gonna be
from
hard
broke
to go
people
back to
about how to
oh,
manage money.
Thank you.
They take
the whole
advice from
full-on
unhappy
experience
people
of
about
this.
how to
Hey, you created
live.
something special here,
They take
and,
advice from
I wanna
unsuccessful
bring,
people about how to
more people your
succeed.
way.
Please.
That doesn't make any sense.
Thank you.
If you want to be wealthy, learn from
Thank
wealthy
you. Oh,
people.
that means so much.
If you want to be healthy, learn from healthy
That
people.
means so much. And that,
If
and
you
that's
want to
all
be
I am.
successful,
I really
learn
am
from
a good
successful
listener.
people.
I really want
It's
men
that
just to
simple.
look their most confident.
Choose your
After
mentors
we
wisely.
finish that,
They don't have to be
real
people you know
assignment is
personally.
to
They
relax
can be
y'all.
authors, speakers,
Y'all have
leaders in
so
your
much
field.
noise,
But make sure
so
they've actually
much people
accomplished
pulling
something.
each way.
Make
Like,
sure
I
they
just
have
wanna
results.
be-
When I
Not
first
just
got in the
theories.
room, I'm like,
Make sure they've
what
walked the
shit is
path.
this? I'm here for this motivational
Now let's talk about your daily routine.
self-improvement class.
Because success
Put on
isn't
some
about
soft
what you
music,
do.
little R&B.
It's about
Give
what
me
you
some
do
easy,
consistently.
yeah, instrumental.
Let me give you some
Like,
examples.
come on, put something.
If you practice it every
Like,
single day,
I
it
got
will
it.
absolutely transform your
I'm
life.
talking a brilliant
Start your morning by feeding your mind before you feed your
But
body.
then, I needed
Before you
it.
eat breakfast,
I was
before
like,
you
I'm
check
listening,
your
and I'm
phone,
like,
before you
right.
turn on the
Wait.
news, spend
Yep,
30
yeah.
minutes
Yep, you're
reading something educational, something that sets your
And then
mind
you
right for the day.
usually once you
This
start
is so
getting into
important.
your, and even
How
some
you
days when
start your day
and we do break it up.
determines
and
how
listen
you
to
live
music
your
too.
day.
But even when
And
you in
how
here,
you
just
live
be
your
like, okay,
day
I do
determines
that,
how
I
you
got
live your
that.
life.
Even if
Keep
I
a
like
journal.
it when it's
Write
so
things down.
boring, then it
Capture
makes
your
me go to sleep.
ideas,
Yeah.
Cause
your
I want to
lessons,
be
your
the barbershop where
insights.
I was.
When you read something that resonates
I
with
don't
you,
know why
write
I
it
didn't know I
down.
needed.
When you learn
we
something
have
valuable,
we have a
write it
blooper video
down.
on snoring.
When you have an idea, write it down. Don't trust your memory.
If you go to
Trust
sleep
your
in here, it's a
memory.
compliment.
I've kept journals for decades, and I can tell you, looking back at what I've learned, what I've experienced, what I've discovered, that's priceless. That's a record of your
Because that's the
growth,
thing.
your journey, your
when you get
development.
somebody, when you can relax.
Here's something I learned a long time ago.
Yeah.
All successful people are readers. All
You got it down.
are not.
You gotta relax.
Now that doesn't
where
mean
you
that
can-
just reading a
where-
book will make you
where,
successful. But show me someone
you
who's
think
successful
crazy.
in
I
any
mean, I just know,
field.
like my
And I'll
client,
show you
he's
someone
been
who
with me
reads,
for
who
the last
studies,
5 years. He
who
was
never
just
stops
like, he was
learning.
here right before
And
he
show
was
me
like-
someone
I
who's
was like, "Did you
struggling,
bring your phone
who's
in here?" He was
stuck,
like,
who's not
"You
getting
know
ahead.
this is why I be
And I'll show you someone who's
like
stopped
this,
reading,
and that's
who's
like my
stopped
clients. I
learning,
got them like that. Like
who
they
thinks
know
they
don't
already
even
know
throw their
everything
phones
they need
out.
to know. Let's talk about your body for a minute. You've got to treat your body like a temple, not a woodshed. What does that mean? It means you don't just throw any old thing into it. You're careful about what you eat. You exercise regularly. You get enough rest. You take care of yourself because you understand that your body is the vehicle that carries you through life. If you don't maintain it, if you don't take care of it, it's going to break down. And unlike a car, you can't just trade it in for a new one. Start building the discipline muscle. Here's how you do it. Make small promises to yourself and keep them. Say you're going to read for 30 minutes and then do it. Say you're going to exercise 3 times this week.
Some people accidentally chop it off.
Say you're going to
and I
save
like
a
that.
certain amount of
And
money.
that's why I did.
And
That's
then
why I
do
told
it.
you, so I said, hey, make
Every
sure you're
time you keep
mindful
a
of it,
promise to
because
yourself,
you
you
chop it
build
off, I got
trust
problems
with
for a while.
yourself.
Yeah, it's just
You
gonna keep
prove
on
to
going,
yourself
and
that
it,
you're
just
serious,
on your
that
forehead,
you're
it's
committed,
thinning
that you can
out
be
the-
counted on.
If you let it
And
grow,
that builds
then it
momentum.
go into the hairstyle.
Speaking of money, let's talk about financial fitness because you can't ignore this area. Here's a simple formula that will change your financial life. Learn to live on 70% of what you make. Not 98%, not 110% like most people do, but 70%. Save 10%, invest 10%, and give away 10%. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Jim, I can't live on 70%. I'm already struggling to make ends meet. But here's what I've found. It's not about how much you make. It's about what you do with what you make. I've seen people making 6 figures who are broke because they spend everything they make. And I've seen people making modest incomes who are wealthy because they're disciplined with their money. Living on 70% forces you to become disciplined. It forces you to distinguish between needs and wants. It forces you to make better decisions. And the money you save and invest, that's your future. That's your security. That's your freedom. Don't spend it all today and hope tomorrow takes care of itself. Take care of tomorrow today by being disciplined with your money.
Right, that's sure enough.
Here's a challenge for you.
Oh yeah.
30 days. Give me 30 days of complete commitment to these disciplines. Read every day, exercise every day, eat well every day, save money, keep a journal, feed your mind good information. For 30 days, prove to yourself what's possible when you're disciplined, when you're focused, when you're serious about your growth. But here's the thing about these 30 days. You're also going to have to cut some things out. And this is where it
So
gets
usually,
uncomfortable.
like what you got.
You're going to have some tough
was
conversations, make some hard
children's
choices,
treatment,
create some distance from things and people that aren't
But we
serving your
gave you
growth.
a compliment.
Let me tell you something about timing that most people get wrong. They
Maybe to
overestimate what
But
they can do.
if the next time you come in for your
Underestimate what they can do.
business trip, even when you come in for your
They want everything right
business
now.
trip,
And
you
you
gotta
know
wear
it doesn't happen fast.
the tank top.
But success doesn't work that way.
I wasn't sure because I didn't care what happened.
Oh, okay. Or wear a shirt that you don't care about.
Success is about playing the long
Usually I'll be like, oh,
You ever heard about the Chinese bamboo tree? You plant the seed, you
Oh,
water it, you
yeah,
fertilize it, you
oh.
take care of it, and for 5 years nothing happens. Nothing visible anyway.
Right, we
5
got
years
money
of
on
work and you
there.
don't see anything above the ground.
So
But then,
damn, I
in
look
the
good.
fifth
Yeah,
year,
you do.
that bamboo
Yes,
tree
you do.
grows 90
Got
feet
some
in 6
problems.
weeks.
Did we have,
Now,
you
did
have
it grow
anything
90
in the
feet in
box?
6 weeks?
No.
Or did it
Okay.
grow 90 feet in 5 years? The answer is 5 years. All that time when nothing seemed to be happening, the tree was developing a massive root system underground, preparing itself for that explosive growth. That's exactly how personal development works. You're building roots. You're developing yourself on the inside where nobody can see it, and people might look at you and think nothing's changing. But you keep reading, you keep learning, you keep growing, you keep working on yourself, and then one day, boom, everything comes together. Opportunities show up. Doors open. Success happens. Not overnight, but right on time. Here's what I've learned. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And failure is nothing more than a few small errors in judgment repeated every day. It's the accumulation of daily choices that determines your destiny. The question is, what are you accumulating? Are you accumulating knowledge, skills, discipline, and good habits? Or are you accumulating excuses, regrets, and wasted time? And here's the thing about personal development. You can't hire someone else to do your push-ups for you. Nobody can grow for you. Nobody can learn for you. Nobody can become successful for you. This is your responsibility. This is your journey. Nobody's coming to save you. Not the government, not your company, not your family. You've got to save yourself. And the good news is, you can. You absolutely can. The truth is, what you become is far more important than what you get. The real value of setting goals isn't in achieving them. It's in what you become in the process of pursuing them. The skills you develop, the discipline you build, the character you forge. That's what matters. Because what you get can be taken away. But what you become is yours forever. Think about it this way. If you lost everything tomorrow, your job, your money, your possessions, but you kept all the knowledge, skills, and character you've developed, you could rebuild. You could start over and create success again. But if you have all the money in the world and no personal development, no discipline, no wisdom, you'll lose it all eventually. We've seen it happen time and time again. Lottery winners who go broke, inheritances squandered. Why? Because they didn't have the personal foundation to sustain success. Your personal transformation creates a ripple effect. When you change, your family changes. Your children don't do what you say.
See, that's why we need the world map.